We're going to get to Chelsea. We're going to get to Chelsea's win. We must get to Barcelona, though, and the red card for Araujo, because people will bring that up and say, yes, they were down to 10 men, but were they really even that competitive before it, Barca?
No, that was the one chance we saw Ferran Torres, that he kind of rushed it a little bit. But no, if you've watched Spanish football, as we do, on a weekly basis, you'll know that this Barcelona side have got a good result at the weekend. The game you were doing, the Athletic Club. Athletic Club were terrible. But Barca did a job, but they've been severely unconvincing defensively. And what we saw with 11 men was Chelsea able to dominate them before Araujo gets sent off for two stupid decisions. But that's who Barcelona are. And you guys were in Madrid. You were in Spain to watch Real Madrid at the weekend get a lucky draw against Elche. When you look at how they're playing and how this Barcelona team are playing, if one of these two wins the league, and that's the likely scenario, one of the worst champions in recent history, because they're both terrible. Yeah, Barca can be more exciting going forward. But defensively, again, and we've said it time and time again, they had great success last year domestically, taking all these chances, but they're taking more chances this year defensively. They're squeezing the line in a very poor manner. They're squeezing at the wrong time. And almost every team they play, apart from Athletic Club at the weekend, are causing them problems. So this is who Barca are with 11 men. Don't kid yourself. This game was not about the red card. This was about Chelsea being the better side and all the problems that Barca have had this season, defensively in particular, coming home to roost.
And then not adjusting after you do go a man down.
They didn't adjust, but Craig's absolutely right. We've talked about their defensive, how poor they are defensively, and so nothing surprises you what we saw tonight. What did surprise me, when they were 11 versus 11, they didn't really create anything. They didn't dominate the game. The midfield players, Frankie de Jong usually controls the pace of the game. He couldn't do that. Of course, there's no Pedri in the side. But even the front, Lewandowski was hardly involved. Ferran Torres was taken off at half-time, maybe because they were down to 10 men, but he didn't make enough runs. And Lamine Yamal was almost non-existent. You know, that's the worst I've seen him play since he's almost had a Barcelona charm. Cucurella did a great job against him.
I mean, if they lose their impetus going forward, if they lose that ability to be as dynamic as they were last year, and I know Rafinha's been out, and I know he came back, got some game time, I know he's been a big miss. And Pedri, as Robbo mentioned, obviously Pedri and de Jong have been at a great axis in there, controlling games. But if they lose that ability as one of the most exciting, decisive opponents going forward with all the goal threat, if they somehow even lose 20 or 30% of that, they're not going to succeed, because that's what's been holding them up. That's the ballast that they've had for some of the poor defending, was the fact that they've been able to just go and outscore teams. But if they lose that, allied to the problems they've got elsewhere, then they've got problems. Now, they're going to get out of this 36-team group thing. They're going to get out of that. Shouldn't be an issue for them. But what could be an issue, and they're not the only ones, because Real Madrid are very much in this pot going forward if we're looking at La Liga. The issue for them is, where can they put a consistent run of results together like they were able to do last year? Not on what we've seen this season. I think it's very... And Hansi Flick, after the international break, said, don't worry, everybody. If we play like how we played against Celta de Vigo in Vigo, we'll be okay. Is he bonkers? Because I watched that game, and he did that game, and they were terrible for 45 minutes. I mean, it was embarrassing. So, you know, they can paper over it all they want. There are some major issues, and we all know where they are in this Barca team.
And what worried me today about Barcelona's performance, the game was played maybe another 15% in terms of intensity, the pace of the game, to what they're used to sometimes playing in La Liga. So the likes of Frankie de Jong, the likes of Fermin Lopez, who have been absolutely magnificent in recent weeks going forward, had no impact on the game whatsoever, because the game was being played at too quick a pace for them, and they didn't like it at all.
Did you expect more from Barcelona tonight, Mario?
Yeah, no, just what Robbo said. You know, like, I think Chelsea surprised them. Why? Because the way they set it up, you understand? As soon as the game kicked off, you saw it from the first minute, regardless if they had the opportunity to score Barcelona, you could see that the energy and the way they were going after. They stacked the midfield, you understand? Because with James and Casero, they were like working really hard. And they used the pace up front. They didn't even start with a normal striker, because Neto was the attacking player for them in the middle, or even coming on the side sometimes. But it was just good to see. I think it was a team that normally is very comfortable and keeping the ball, against a team that put a lot of energy and didn't give them a lot of time on the ball. And what you just highlighted, You know, everybody's eye was going to be on Yamal and, Cucurella. And Cucurella is one of those players, you'd rather have him in your team because you don't want to play against him because he can annoy you. But he had a great game against Yamal, I say.
So they surprised me and they didn't surprise me, Barcelona. I mean, they surprised me because, as Robbo said, they were a little blunt going forward. It didn't surprise me Chelsea scored 3.
Oh, no, not at all.
Not at all. And I'm not taking anything away from Chelsea whatsoever because they ground out a result at Burnley at the weekend. They're playing Arsenal on Sunday. It's a big win for them. But let's be honest about it, right? At this moment in time, Real Madrid and Barcelona are not big scalps. They're not. Not playing well enough to be big scalps. I mean, you saw that you were at the Elche game. Elche should have won at the weekend. We've seen countless Barcelona games this year with teams rooted at the bottom of La Liga, giving them multiple problems. I mean, Sevilla smashed them. Celta Vigo should have taken 3 or 4 off them. You know, the Alaveses and all these teams. So they're a big scalp in terms of the fact that, they're La Liga champions and they're Barcelona and they've got Lamine Yamal, but they're not a difficult team
and we say every week, they're getting away with this against this sort of side. When they come up against the very best teams in Europe, and Chelsea at the moment are a very good team, their defensive strategy is going to be called out. I mean, even when they're down to 10 and the third goal, the 2 players on the right-hand side, Eric Garcia was playing at right back and the centre-half, Koundé was playing at centre-half, they just allow the space for the ball to be played in between. There's no recovery runs whatsoever, and Fernandes makes the run, the timing of the pass is good. It's too easy. You cannot defend like that. To be a top-class side, you have to defend well as going forward.
So why the drop-off? We just saw the figures there. Why the drop-off from last season?
I think teams weren't used to it. So teams didn't plan so much for it, and which they should have done. After about 3 weeks, we could say, look at the high line that Barcelona are playing. But teams kept on getting caught offside and ran too early. Now teams are looking at it and coaches are looking at it and saying, this is easy to break down. We only have to play first-time balls in behind them. Front players, don't make your run until the ball's played. We can hit switches of play and get on the big diagonal. And they're not doing it as well. So I think their philosophy is totally wrong and teams are finding ways to go past it so easily.
Barcelona fans they just hate it when we don't kiss their backside, don't they? But there's no reason to.
I think even some Barcelona fans are annoyed at their own team right now, though, with what they're seeing.
Well, they should be annoyed at their manager. I mean, he doesn't have to completely change his philosophy, but he has to get the balance correct. And why are you fiving? He was your captain as well, I think, Arojo. Why are you fiving him when he's coming off after making 2 stupid decisions like that? I mean, he's right on the back of the referee for his first booking. He's got his nose in the back of the referee's head. The referee turns round, he's there. You can't encroach like that. And then once you've done that, it's just a stupid challenge. So Hansi Flick's going to have to figure it out. The fact that he might get away with it is because others at the top end in the Liga may also fall off. Real Madrid, Villarreal are going well up to now. Atletico Madrid, could you trust them? I'm not sure you can. So for that reason, both of those of the big 2 might be okay. But for no other reason than that, I think particularly in the Champions League, this has got no longevity for Barcelona. It just can't. You may get away with it in Spain against the bottom half, which they have done. But as this tournament evolves and the teams become more elite and better quality, you're just not going to get away with that.
All right, let's talk more about the winning team then, if we can, Mario. What did you like about Chelsea tonight?
I like the fact that just how they responded to every, even tackles and the way, when they kicked off the game. In the beginning, you understand, keeping the ball in the team at the back. I was a little bit waiting because I was a little bit worried because in the beginning it didn't look that comfortable the way they were passing from the back. But then afterwards they started to pick up. And what they really used well, the pace. And then, Estevao gave us an answer in the sense of what they really wanted to do because you get on the ball and dribble at them and take them on. Who is one of the players that's really in form in doing that is Estevao. He gets at you, dribbles, drops the shoulder, takes people on. And I think that was one of the key things what Chelsea was really good at. Away from that, I think just it worked well. Consistently was really good for them. But like we spoke, right, this game was at the Bridge. It's always good to play at the Bridge when you play the big teams. The hardest thing would be, you understand, if Chelsea would have met Barcelona at their side because it's always a different game. But I think the fans around you, they help you a lot and I think they got motivated in that sense too. And the key thing was when Araujo got sent off, right, the way the game went, it was almost like we know how his reaction can be. Sometimes he can be really fiery. And when Chelsea goes at you like that, it didn't surprise me that he got pulled over, because he sometimes, he can be really tough. You can be defended, you go like, wow, you need that. But sometimes you can also say like, who's going to cool him down? Because sometimes he can get too heated and then loses his head.
You think even with the decision to play Neto, you think pace, the back four, the squeezing of the line, in some sense that may have saved Barcelona from an even bigger mauling, because it's not really that player that you're looking to get in. It's the player coming from a deeper run. And if he'd played João Pedro, I don't know if it was just that or whether there was a fitness issue as well. And João Pedro likes to float about and drop a little deeper, and that, you know, as soon as the centre half steps out, that's when you get the deeper runs to coming in. So it's not really about playing a pacey front man against a back four that squeezes, because you're really looking for that front guy to come out with the line and then get your Enzo Fernandez or your wide players making those runs. So whatever way Enzo Maresca went tonight, and you've got to credit him for getting it right, but I think whatever way he went with his front line, I think would have been successful against this Barcelona back four.
Estevo's special, isn't he?
Oh.
He is. He's got everything you want from a wide player. You know, there's a lot of good wide players playing throughout Europe at the moment, and he's one of those players that can go past people down the outside. He showed he's got a right foot as well, because he's a left-footed player when he runs with it. Scores with his right foot. He's got that bit of pace, and he looks an intelligent footballer as well. You know, quite a lot of players that dribble with the ball, do it at the wrong times, they run into defenders. It looks as though he's got a bit of that intelligence, football intelligence as well. So yeah, good player.
They've signed enough wide players, haven't they?
Yeah,
so
they've got to get it right at some point.
Modric is off and he's got his issues, and Pedro Neto's done a good job for them as a wide player. Gittins has come in. Obviously, they lost Madueke to Arsenal.
Garnacho's the one that I'm still not convinced about.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's hot and cold, isn't he? But this young guy, I think already from a very early stage of him putting on this strip, particularly at Stamford Bridge, you can just tell whenever he gets the ball, people are off their seats, aren't they? There's an edge, there's an excitement. And
even you were off your seat when we were watching.
Well, not quite.
No, all right.
But it's great to see. The difference is, and I always say this, we talked about it a lot with Jeremy Doku at Man City, and we've seen it a little bit at times, is for these wide players, these pacey, tricky wide players, it's really about end product. Because all the fancy stuff it goes unnoticed if there's nothing at the end of it. And what this young man is showing, and it is early, is that he's good enough and he's mature enough that when he gets in those positions, there's generally something tangible at the end of it in the final third, and that's the most important thing.
Mario, what happens if this version of Chelsea show up at the weekend against Arsenal?
Yeah, definitely, because you know what the key thing is, and the guys are sitting there, you know when you peak one time in one game, because Chelsea clearly had a good game, regardless if you have one man, but then you got to do it again over the weekend. I think that's going to be a tough one. Do I think it's possible? Yeah, they're at home. So, you know, at home they must feel comfortable, you know, but Arsenal at the moment, they are really like, let's see what they do tomorrow. But away from that, I still root for, you know, like that Chelsea can grab them. Because they're in that good mood at the moment.
A much better version of Chelsea will need to turn up, believe it or not. Believe it or not, they will have to up their game from what we saw tonight to play at the weekend, because Arsenal, you know, they're they're not going to be...
They will have to play as energetically as they did today, but they can't make that early mistake, because they could have gone one down today with that first pass and they won it in midfield. Barcelona and Ferran Torres should have scored. If they did that against Arsenal and Arsenal score, then they're up against it. So they've got to make sure in that first 20 minutes they try and dominate Arsenal in terms of their intensity, and I would say get the ball into the front areas that little bit quicker and don't give Arsenal a chance to go and press it.
In some sense, that's the acid test for them at the weekend rather than this. Now, we're saying this is Barcelona, but we've seen enough of them, particularly this year. We just have. We're not picking on them. It's been there every week in, week out to see the poorest teams in the Liga could all have had 2, 3 and 4 against them. Easy. And I'm not even talking half chances. And so this is not a surprise, this win for Chelsea. It's a great win, but it's not a surprise if you watch the Liga on a regular basis. If they were to do that something similar to Arsenal at the weekend, which is a big if, that's a huge statement, because we know at the moment they're clear favourites at the moment to go on and win this Premier League. So yeah, that would the statement for Chelsea has to be the weekend. Enjoy tonight, great performance, but Arsenal are a different ball game at the weekend.